It is Wednesday again already. And that means one thing. It's time for Money Hungry. What's going on, Kim? How you doing? How was your week?
Hey Zach, how are you? My week was good. It was busy
Yeah?
between YouTube stuff and I go out still every day and go work, and I feel like I'm doing like two full-time jobs. So I feel like it's like jam packed, and if you count my husband and daughter, so what is that, like four full-time jobs at this point?
Yeah. No, I hear you. As a single parent myself, I get it. YouTube itself is most certainly a full-time job. So that resonates super hard. Yeah. So I have had a pretty uneventful week outside of content creation. It's been, I've been working on a video for the last like 3 weeks, 4 weeks with a friend and fellow driver in my market. So that has been a difficult video to put together. So it's been time consuming, getting all of the information I needed for this video, all the screenshots in order. But you know what? It's going to be good. So we have a jam-packed show today. It's going to be a good time. We've got some funny stuff. We've got some very serious, not so funny stuff. So let's get right into pennies to prosperity. So,
Okay.
Kim, my question is, are the gig companies playing copycat? Are they giving us less and less information and then feeding off of each other when one does something shady?
I think it is a very valid point. So when we put up all three of these slides for everybody today, and just to preface this, the all three of these screenshots either came from my phone or Zach's phone, and they were from orders that happened on our phones this week, which I actually kind of find somewhat amusing. So the first one on the left, it is an Uber Eats screen. This actually came from me. So it looks like a normal screen. And does anybody find anything missing on this screen?
Kim, I see something missing on that screenshot. Really quick, to clarify, the last screenshot actually did not come from my phone. It did come from
Oh,
my
sorry.
market, though. No, it's okay. So shout out to my friend Pam for the screenshot. Thank you very much. But Kim, there is something very janky with that first screenshot.
So it was one night this week. It's like the only night that I think I went out this week. But when I went out, all of the stacked orders were coming in with no restaurants. It literally was just the offer amount, it was the meals, and then it was drop off location. And that was it. And can I add, it was a really bad order to begin with. So really bad order, not seeing restaurants. I'm like, what the heck is this crap?
So, for those of you who are listening rather than watching, the first offer that we're talking about is a double on Uber Eats for $7.06. This says it is going to take 23 minutes and going 3.3 miles. Obviously, their time estimates are never particularly accurate, but the next line is supposed to be the pickup restaurant, or in the case of doubles, one of the pickup restaurants, and that is just completely blank. There's nothing there. So that's a little backwards. Now, this is not what's been floating around other markets where it's just showing you the price and the time it's going to take you. It's not like that because you're also seeing the drop off location. So they're hiding just the restaurant. So this is very very different from what we're used to seeing. What do you think is going on here, Kim? Do you think that this is a glitch or do you think that this is intentional?
So every time, so I've been with Uber Eats now for 3 years, and I've seen so many changes happening, just like DoorDash with Uber Eats. And you notice a pattern with Uber Eats. It comes across as a glitch, and it'll last. I know, glitch. It'll last for 3 to like maybe 4 hours, and then it'll go away. But then it'll come back again at a later time, so it's not consistent, but you'll start seeing it. And then at some point, an area it will get rolled out to. It might not be your area, but it might be someone else's area. And I feel like this is their way of testing to see, oh, are these drivers actually going to take this?
So
Let's see.
so I remember when last year, about a year back, just over a year back, when Uber started hiding all of the pertinent information, pickup, drop off, yada, yada, yada. They didn't announce this to anybody that this was coming. They just unloaded this on drivers. And then when drivers started calling support confused as hell, they were telling them, oh, it's a glitch. We're aware of it. We're working on fixing it. And then all of a sudden these messages started following saying, oh, except what was it? 7 out of 10 or something like that. Or
Yeah.
three, have, some crazy acceptance rate to get all of the upfront information. So in essence, in my opinion, Uber was the one who really started this. I mean, we're all used to hidden tips, right? That's been a DoorDash and Uber thing for as long as Uber's displayed tips. But in my opinion, Uber was the one who actually really started screwing with drivers the worst because of the lack of safety that we get with the missing information. So I can't speak for you, and I can't speak for excuse me, anybody else in your markets. But Uber will take me to areas in my market that are not particularly safe, that I don't want to go to. So when they start doing stuff like this, potentially puts us at risk. And there have been way too many stories in the news lately, which we're going to get to. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is it really the time to be even less transparent? If this is a glitch, fix it. Say,
I,
hey, come out, send an email to the drivers. We're aware this is happening. We're sorry. We're fixing it.
yeah, I just don't think it's honestly, I think everything, a lot of these companies, all three of the companies, is very calculated. I feel like there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that obviously us as drivers are never aware of. So I just think it's not a glitch. I think it's their way of really seeing, okay, let's see how much less we can give drivers and how much they'll accept with less information. And I know the middle screen is DoorDash, and a lot of markets have seen this DoorDash screen. So those of you who are listening, so it is 675. It gives the miles, it gives the restaurant and, customer drop off. But this actually just came to my area this past week. So a lot of you guys have already started seeing this. I just saw that this past week. But now we don't have item counts. So can you really make a really good decision as a driver with no item counts? Because I know a lot of times I base my decision off of item counts on DoorDash because in your head, if you know your restaurants, you know the subtotals of a lot of these meals. I'm like, okay, it could be over $100. I'll take it. Um, so, and not only that, but the font got so super small. I need glasses, and driving in smaller font. I'm like, wait, what does that say? I'm like, probably
Yeah.
it's talking about safety. Like, that's probably like the worst form of safety ever.
So I feel like DoorDash's response to this would be the fact that with hidden tips, they're going to show you that plus now.
But this plus doesn't happen on these screens anymore.
Oh, it doesn't.
No.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So now diamond only comes up diamond. It doesn't come up diamond plus in my area.
Ah,
It
okay.
only comes up on diamond. So now you don't know your item count. So you can't calculate it if it could possibly be a diamond plus. You're taking it on the faith that it's just a diamond. The only,
Interesting.
I know. The only thing is if you're on the large order program, it does come up. This is actually the one thing and only thing I like now about this offer screen. It actually comes up catering bag required. So you know that the subtotal is over $100 and they give you item counts. I don't know. It's just so wacky.
Yeah. So we've seen DoorDash change the offer screen many, many times. They've sent out polls to drivers. I remember getting an email about this months before they changed it. And I remember going through and filling out this survey for them. And, of course, like I was against this change because it was less information. So I don't know if they sent this out and drivers are like, ooh, this looks prettier. Let's just go with this. Or if they just completely ignored, what drivers really wanted. But I mean, yeah. So it's definitely annoying, and you kind of gotta rely on your senses, rather your instinct, so to speak, rather than the information that's being provided to you. So, I mean, in order like that, right? 675 picking up at McDonald's, that's probably not going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, This final screenshot that we're going to take a look at here is from my friend Pam in my market of Bellingham, Washington. So thank you again to Pam for this screenshot. This was on Grubhub, and this is picking up at a restaurant called Fat Shack. Was one order going 5.6 miles for $7.23. Kim, do you notice anything funky about that offer screen?
Hello. Yeah. Somewhere in the United States is the pickup and drop off.
So, well, I mean, theoretically, if we're going just based off of the screenshot, right? I mean, theoretically, you could be in the Gulf of Mexico. You could be in like Michigan, right? Like you could be going literally anywhere. So again, for those of you who are listening rather than watching, it's just a map zoomed out of the United States. So there is no drop off. And Pam was telling me that she had this replicated several times. I think she said 4 or 5 times yesterday alone. So this was not a one-off fluke. This was something that Grubhub kept doing. So again, we don't know if this is some app glitch or if this is an intentional redaction of information to the drivers. So I want to do kind of a quick impromptu poll. So talking about specifically the Uber and the Grubhub order. Do you guys think, just one word, glitch? If you guys think it was a glitch, or intentional, on purpose, whatever, something like that. If you guys think it was intentional, I'm really curious to see your guys' perspective on this. Now, Kim, I know you were out driving again this morning, and we had talked about this yesterday or the day before. Were you able to see this replicated again?
No. Nope, it didn't
Okay.
happen again. And like I said, it only happened. I think one of the questions was before, I forget what the question was, but it was only on stacked orders, and it was only not showing the restaurant location. It was showing one of the drop off locations like it normally does. If you look at the map is identical to what you would normally see. So the two dots for pickups, the two dots for drop offs. If you know your area, you can probably guess what restaurant it is. But should we as drivers really have to guess where we're going and picking up from? Like, I just feel like that's
No.
just such vital information.
No. So I am very much one of those people who think that gig workers deserve 100% transparency. We should know where we're picking up, where we're going, the entire delivery address, and how much it's paying. And I'm sorry, like the whole intersection thing on Uber isn't cutting it, because frequently, at least in my market, that's wrong. I've had that be very, very wrong, miles wrong before.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So the, I'm just a proponent of transparency, right? If we're being asked to do a job, then we deserve 100% of the information up front. In my market, okay, we've got a road called Samish, okay? And depending on where on Samish you are, you could be in a just completely drug infested area, or you could be in an area with $1 million homes. And either way, it's going to show up as Samish. So you got to hope for the best. So there's my rant about transparency and but I think it goes further than this with DoorDash, right? We're showing this one screenshot, but there's more to it than that. We're seeing DoorDash. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion because I know a lot of my people like earn by time, but I view it as a way for DoorDash to give even less transparency. So you're not getting many options here, right? Like if you want to earn by time, you get I think it's 2 declines an hour, and then you're gone, right?
Yeah.
So and you're not getting all of the information. So just another way that they're intentionally giving less information to the driver.
Now, see, and I know we talked about this before the show happened, but I guess my thing with all of this is it's getting worse, not better. So we're seeing less and less information. We're seeing less item counts. We're seeing less restaurants. We're seeing less maps, stuff
Mhm.
that really helps us make decisions. And, I'm not here to get political or anything like that, but with everything that's been happening with independent contractors, in DC lately, like you would think that all of these companies would shed some positive light that say, hey, this is what we're doing for the drivers, because obviously they want to go their way and they're thinking about it. And can they really afford to have millions of employees on their books? Probably not. So
No, of course
you
not.
would actually think that it would get better and show how wonderful they are, opposed to, oh my God, let's give them the least information possible so they can take orders.
So we seem to have a pretty even mix of people here that think it's a glitch or intentional. So I think that's something that time will tell. My concern with like the Grubhub one, I saw somebody say that they think that the Grubhub one is a glitch and the Uber is intentional. My concern is that they're going to be like, oh, well, that was a glitch, but that's not a bad idea. We're getting more orders accepted like this. Like, I don't know, just my fear, right? And Grubhub, and you know what? We're gonna skip it because we're kind of running out of time on our first topic. But I was gonna go on a Grubhub tirade, but maybe we'll have to save that for next time. Kim, I think that transparency is more important now more than ever because of what we're seeing in the media and the lives that are being affected by other people's horrendous actions. And folks, this is a great time if you have children present to send them to a different room. If you're in a restaurant, you might want to put some headphones in or turn us way down because we are about to talk about some truly horrific things. This section is what we call hot off the press. Kim, do you want to introduce this story for us?
Unfortunately, I hate introducing this story because it's absolutely horrific, and I would like to think a lot of people know about this already, but just in case you haven't, this is demonic. Pasco sheriff looks for answers in the murder of an Uber Eats driver. So there was an incident a couple days ago where an Uber Eats driver never reported home to his wife, and they were in contact prior to his last delivery. He never came home. She called the cops to find out. They tracked where his last delivery was, and they brought the cops to the house where his last delivery was, and they searched the property and found his remains in garbage bags in the house, which is absolutely horrific, and it gives me the chills, and my heart goes out to the family of this poor Uber Eats driver. It's absolutely ridiculous and sick that someone would actually do this.
Yeah. So this happened on April 19th in Pasco County, Florida. And so I've got a few questions about this. This unfortunately is a developing story and there's more questions than answers at this point. So unfortunately, the gentleman who had his life taken, his name was Randall Cook. And so this happened on April 19th, and this was during the dinner rush. He showed up to deliver his Uber Eats order, and shortly before he got there, the security camera cut off. So two people were seen leaving the house, and then the security camera cut off. So he had been communicating with his wife. He had been texting back and forth, and he told her he was going to be home. So within 30 minutes of him not arriving home when he was supposed to, his wife got in touch with the police. 2 days later, the cops show up at this guy's house and they start doing some searching. And like Kim said, ultimately found his remains in trash bags. So before I forget, before we go any further, I want to thank Salty for sharing this story with me. Saltiest Gaming. He sent this to me, and we were able to get this in. We were planning on doing this story next week, but we were able to get it in this week. So Thank you to Salt. Kim, this one hits close to home on so many levels.
I think to me this one hits so close to home because it could have been any one of us.
Could have been.
It literally, I don't think that this sick person really cared who it was. It
Yeah.
was just some random Uber Eats driver, and he had a wife, he had a stepdaughter. Um,
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know what the scary thing is we always talk about safety, but I don't know what he could have done differently even to prevent this, because from what the article was saying is he literally got grabbed as soon as he was delivering the order and was dragged into the house.
Yeah.
So uh, to me, that's the scary part, because I think we all put ourselves, like, we all have our own safety measures that we follow, and if you don't, you should. Um,
Yeah.
but it literally could have happened to anybody, and I think that's this really scary part of it.
Yeah. So I completely agree with what you're saying. I second this. This is horrendous, and this could have been any one of us. And my heart bleeds for that family. And this guy just looked like the all American guy. Real. We don't have a screenshot of the victim, unfortunately, but we have a screenshot of the guy that perpetrated it, and he's the screenshot speaks for itself. For those of you watching, it's a heavily tattooed man with a bunch of face and neck tattoos. He's a known gang member. So Kim and I were talking about this prior to the show, and I have some questions about this story. So it took the police 2 days after his wife's phone call to show up at this house where he was last known to be at. So I know that Uber has their own number for law enforcement to get into contact with. However, I also know that law enforcement frequently gets the runaround when they contact Uber. So, my question is, did the police wait 2 days because he's, an adult and they're like, oh, he's probably on a bender or something? Or did they get the runaround from Uber and waste precious time that could have been used to potentially save this guy's life? So again, complete speculation on my part, and I do not have the answer. But that I that's a question I would like to see answered.
Yeah. If I can go back to it, there was a question. I'm trying to go back and I can't find it. Somebody asked, what is more dangerous, food delivery or rideshare?
So that was Ride Shift Dude who asked that, and I was actually going to have you put that up in a minute.
And I
So
was
that
trying to
works.
find it. I'm trying to find it.
Let me see if I can get you a timestamp.
I got it.
Okay. So this is this is an interesting question, and I've got some opinions on this, and I'd love the chat to weigh in as well, especially those of you who do both. I would say that typically rideshare is probably more dangerous because you've got people close to you who may or may not have been drinking, or have consumed some other substance. So I would assume rideshare would be far more dangerous, but we are seeing more and more stories recently, unfortunately, of delivery drivers being attacked or worse. What do you think, Kim?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think rideshare is different. I mean, it's definitely more dangerous, to be honest. That's probably one of the reasons why I've only done one rideshare in my entire delivery career, and it was by complete accident.
Hmm.
Um, it's just something I don't personally feel safe doing, but I know people who love doing it and
Yeah.
excel at it. Having people in your car and dealing with people comes with a different level of risks than
Yeah.
just going to someone's house and, putting it down. I think there is always a level of risk in anything you do, and it could be any job, whether it is even food delivery, rideshare. I mean, there's a certain level of risk even when I worked in retail, and you don't even think about it, but there's always some sort of danger lurking
Yeah.
around the corner. But I definitely think rideshare is definitely a little bit more dangerous,
Yeah.
actually a
And,
lot
and
more dangerous.
really quick, whoever's trying to twist my words about the tattoos, I have a half sleeve and a quarter sleeve. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. So I would agree. The ride shares, yeah. So I worked in a casino for many years and I was a dealer, and I could tell when people were, they were, mentally like they were not there, like they were on tilt, whatever the case was. And from the moment they walked up, I could generally tell if I was going to have a problem with them. And we had a code word that we could call the floor supervisor, the pit boss, and we could say, I need an aspirin, and they would pull us off the table. So we don't have that in rideshare and stuff like that. There's no get out of jail free card, right? There's no rescue immediately right there. So yeah, I would have to agree that rideshare is probably more dangerous.
Yeah.
So
So horrific story. Once again, prayers
unfortunately,
go
yeah.
out to this poor guy's family. I can't even imagine. I have no words.
Unfortunately, our next story is not much better.
Unfortunately, it's not. Ugh.
So, a DoorDash driver in Tampa, Florida, was kidnapped and battered before the man. Yeah. So, okay. She was delivering a DoorDash order and she got it delivered. The man had a gun and basically forced her back into her car. They drove, I believe it was 6 miles away, where she ultimately was assaulted. It is worth noting that the screenshot you're looking at was altered slightly to remove one word, so it wouldn't get YouTube all freaked out. But I think you guys can use your imagination to piece together the rest of what happened here. So this lady had safety, she had clearly done some thinking about safety and what she would do in certain situations. So she had a friend of hers on the phone while doing this delivery, and she had AirPods in, and she also had her location shared with her friends and some family members. So when the friend she was on the phone with realized that something was going sideways with the delivery, they called 911 and gave her the location. So ultimately, they ended up tracking her location to where this person had her drive, or where the person drove. And so her friends and family show up along with the police. So this person, when her friends show up, starts shooting at them. And one of her friends actually got shot in this incident. So the person who was responsible for this ultimately fled, and they did finally apprehend him. Two people were treated at the hospital for their injuries and are expected to make a full recovery. What is going on in Florida?
What's going on with people in general? There's just some sick people out there. Every time I hear stuff like this, I'm like, oh my god. She kind of So I always have AirPods in my ears as well. They're not always going. But I use the time a lot to chat with my friends, my family, my husband, just because that's usually the time I have. Um, so I think AirPods literally saved her life, believe it or not. And I think it's actually a good thing that she actually had somebody in her ear listening to what was going on, and they were tracking her. And unfortunately, you know, assault did happen to her, which is absolutely horrific. But no fatalities occurred in this incident. So once again, my thoughts and prayers go out to this this DoorDash driver, because it's not easy going through something like that. And God, people are just sick.
People are sick. So I think that this is a good opportunity to quickly talk about some things that we can all do to help protect ourselves. These are two horrendous stories, and we shouldn't even have to be talking about them. Like this kind of shit just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And All right, look. So I think that this driver set herself up to survive. She definitely did. She had her location shared. She had somebody on the phone. She's a survivor. Clearly, reading through this, yeah. So I mean, Kim, I think she did what I would have suggested, right? She shared her location with somebody. She was on the phone. The only thing extra that I can suggest is to carry mace or something like that, or if your state allows it, something else.
Yeah. I hate to say, she kind of reminds me of me in a little bit with my safety precautions. Like I said, I always have my AirPods in my ear. My husband, we have the same, carrier, and we are in a family plan, so he tracks my phone or can track my phone at
Hmm.
any time. The only thing that I think I do differently, and my husband does DoorDash as well, we have like a check and balance with ourselves. Like I notify him, he notifies me at the end of every delivery. So we know that it is,
Yeah.
completed and done. But that's our own check and balance for us. So God forbid something ever happens to us, then we know, okay, they didn't call me. It's just something that we do with each other. So if you have a family member or a friend that you can do that with while you're out, it's just a different level of safety that we do with our family.
And gentlemen, don't feel like it's not the manly thing to do
Oh no,
to
I make
alert
him check in with
somebody.
me. I'm like, I make
Yeah,
him check in with me. No, no,
I
no.
I'm 6 foot something, and I will call a friend of mine or significant other or something, and say, "Hey, this is super sketchy, and this is exactly where I'm at," and I will keep that person on the phone until I'm out of there.
Yeah.
I don't care how badass I think I am. It doesn't really do a lot of good if somebody's got a gun pointed to me.
Just
So
real quick, thank you, Thomas. We truly appreciate it. But yes,
thank
these
you,
subjects
Thomas.
are very hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think they are important to talk about just because I think everybody needs to be aware of their surroundings and aware that stuff like this can happen to anybody.
Yeah. I agree. And I think people being aware of it will hopefully, make drivers a little more aware of their surroundings. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being hopeful, but hopefully these stories make you guys take pause and just think twice ultimately about where you're going to be. And if you need to have somebody on the phone, do not forget that ADT button also exists. We talked about a story 2 weeks ago, I believe, Kim,
Yeah.
where a driver actually found a use for the ADT button. So, and it potentially saved his life. So you just never know what you're going to run into. And, I've sure had sketchy situations, and they've mostly been during the day. You
Yeah.
just can't anticipate this kind of stuff.
This is just so true. Picking your area is so important. Don't take shady areas with DoorDash just to fill a slot.
Yeah.
You know, also, I'm going to add to that. It's so easy to say, but just because DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub dangles money in front of you and you know it's going to a bad area, don't let money be your deciding factor. Your life isn't worth the money or the risk sometimes. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the money is the least important deciding factor.
yeah.
So, and both of these stories are super heavy, and I'd love to move this in a more positive direction. Kim, why don't we pull up the next slide?
Okay. Oh, yay.
Oh,
A
oh, it's not.
lighthearted story.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that one. I was
Oh, did I
expecting.
not do
No,
the right
no, no,
one?
no, no, no. You were right. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing.
I'm
All
like, did
right.
I not do the right one? You scared me.
Sorry about that. Go ahead with this.
Okay, so we actually have a clip of this, but for those of you who are listening to us right now, I've been door dashing for 4 years, and that, Zach, you can say it because I'm not.
Shit.
There you go. Has never happened. So this girl signed up for Uber Eats after door dashing for 4 years, and in her very first week, she got tip baited. And I'm just going to play the clip because she actually tells you what she did after she got tip baited. Also, there are curse words in this clip. So if you have young ears around you, you might want to put earphones on or take them out of the room because there is cursing in this clip. So
Uber Eats. So I was supposed to get $16 and I ended up only
Can you
getting
take us down?
$3 from Uber because that person like went and changed their tip. So I'm mad about it, and my level of petty is like just underneath going back to their house and knocking on the door and be like, why'd you fuck with me? So I called Uber and I told them, hey, I'm coming from DoorDash. I've been DoorDashing for 4 years. That shit has never happened to me. I tried Uber Eats. Within the first week, I got tip baited out of $13. I was like, why do you guys allow people to do that to your customer or to your drivers? I was like, that is completely insane. I'm about to take my ass right back to DoorDash where that doesn't happen. I was like, if a customer does that, you guys should be compensating the drivers because like the business is nothing without the drivers. So they're looking into it, and I'm hoping that they are going to compensate me because I'll go right back onto DoorDash. The only thing that's better about Uber Eats than DoorDash in the first place is that with Uber Eats, you can log in whenever, like you don't have to schedule time. With DoorDash, sometimes it's hard to get in because you have to schedule something. So that's the only difference. I think you make more money on DoorDash anyway. So we'll see.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the difference in quality from YouTube and TikTok? I cannot put out a video where I'm sitting there eating a flaming hot Cheeto complaining about something. I could do one or I could do the other, but I definitely could not do both.
it's funny because when I first saw this, I'm like, is she eating a Cheeto?
So I want to get into this in just 1 second here. So Sergio was kind enough to share the GoFundMe link to Randall Cook's, the GoFundMe for Randall Cook's family. So if you guys have the means to do so, please do drop the family a few bucks. The family is definitely going to need some support. And thank you for sharing that, Sergio. We were actually going to try to look that up ourselves. So appreciate you getting ahead of that. So Kim, other than the obvious differences between between a TikTok video and a YouTube video, so this driver is upset, and in all fairness, rightfully so, because she had an order that showed $16, but she got tip baited out of $13, meaning she only got paid the base pay of $3. So if you drive for Uber Eats for any length of time, unfortunately, this is going to happen to all of us. It is never not maddening, and it definitely should not be a thing. So, but I've got some thoughts on this. So the article said that she reached out to Uber corporate, which sounds fancy and intriguing, but what she actually did was call driver support, who is now looking into it, and we'll get back to her at a later date and time. So, Kim, are they looking into it?
Oh heck no, they're not.
Hell no.
That's their code word for I don't have a script for this. So I need to get you on your merry way so I can get to the next caller.
We have a queue built up, so please go away so I can tell the next person that tips are optional and the customers have 1 hour to adjust them.
Yeah.
So, all right, I find this, I mean, okay, I feel bad for laughing at this, but this was just obviously a very casual, not super well thought out video. If anybody knows who this driver is, send her my way or Kim's way. We'll tell her how to get her money back. But, eating a flaming hot Cheeto, complaining about it on TikTok is not going to do it. So, Kim?
Yeah. I will. So it stinks. Let's face it. I think if everybody who's been on Uber Eats, if you haven't been tip baited, hats off to you for not
Yeah.
tippated, I think it's something we can all relate to. I think it took me a couple months with Uber Eats before I got tippated, and I think
Mhm.
it was only like $2 or $3. I hate to say when it's only like $1 or $2, you're like, oh, it stinks, but okay, moving on. But the first time like $8+ happened, I was heated
Yeah,
because that's a lot of money you are counting on as a driver.
I can still tell you, I can point out every single house that has
Oh yeah.
ever tippated me.
Oh yeah.
There's
Mhm.
one actually just down the road from me that I still give a gesture to when I drive past because I remember. I have not forgotten. So, the another thing that I found humorous is like drivers that are saying, "I'm going to go back to DoorDash." Like they don't care. They don't care. Come on. Like they're not going to remember your name 5 minutes from now. I don't mean to be callous,
You're
but
just another number. We're all just another
we're a
number that can
number.
be replaced tomorrow.
We're a
Um,
number.
where if you don't work for Uber Eats tomorrow, they're like, Kim who? Zach
Yeah.
who?
So I will be completely shocked if they end up reimbursing her or following up. She probably just got a little wordy with the support rep, and so they're just like, oh, we're just gonna file a ticket or something and send this off and let somebody else deal with it. But yeah, no, I'd be shocked. She's not gonna hear back. So for those of you who have not seen my video on tip baiting or heard Kim talk about it, if you get tip baited on Uber, you have two options. You can deal with it. You could suck it up, buttercup, or you can get your money back. Now, ultimately, you have to decide if the amount of money that you were tip baited is worth dealing with the hassle of the steps that I am about to share with you. If you call Uber support and ask for a manager in the driver payments department and read them the riot act, they will typically reimburse you. So I've never had it not work. And I've had dozens of drivers try this and have it work for them. So helpful terms to use when you deal with support. The customer violated the contract. The work has already been completed. I accepted the contract based on the initial shown pay, and do not take no for an answer. Keep in mind they have already refunded the customer the tip baited amount, so the adjustment will not come in as a tip. It'll come through as an actual adjustment. But sometimes, just to get you to calm down, support will actually compensate you more than you were tip baited. Not every time, but sometimes. So, for example, I've been tip baited. We'll call it $10, and I've gotten 20 out of support. So you can get your money back. You just have to decide ultimately if the amount that you were out is worth dealing with support. Now, the first person who answers the phone at Uber support cannot help you. They cannot. So when they tell you they can't do anything about it, it's because they can't. And that's why you have to specifically ask for a supervisor in the driver payments department. This is the time to go King Kong Karen or questionable Ken.
Yeah. And I did this actually a couple of weeks ago, and it actually took me, and supervisors also can help you out. It actually took me to go through a supervisor in order to get mine resolved, but it did ended up getting resolved. But
Yeah.
go as
So
high as you can.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that first person, you're going to have to explain it to them. They're going to read you some obnoxious script about how tips are optional. Ignore them. Ask for a supervisor in the driver payments department. And that is the person who can, oh, wow, I got really
Sorry,
big.
I'm like, I hit the wrong button. Sorry
Ooh.
about that.
Oh, I could see my double chin like twice. It was freaky.
That was a little
So,
big. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I was trying to get up the next slide ready to go, and I'm like, oh, that's not it.
so our next story is another very lighthearted one. We needed a couple of lighthearted things back to back after the two heavy things that we covered towards the
There we
beginning.
go.
All right, guys, we're going to do a quick poll. What do you think the most purchased item is on Instacart? Is it beer, pregnancy tests, grapes, or bananas? Let us know in the chat, or if you're catching us on the replay, leave it in the comments section. So, Kim, I had a hard time with this. When I was doing the poll, I started texting people, trying to get opinions. I would have texted you, but like by the time I was doing the slides for this, like I knew you were passed out. So I was so tempted to put some really goofy stuff in there, like feminine products or reproductive health items. But
Gummy bears.
yeah, right. But I'm too. I think our show is a little too new at this point to be getting too racy. So far we've got Shayana saying bananas. We got Steve saying pregnancy tests. Lily with bananas. Wesley with bananas. Alex with grapes. We got a lot of bananas.
We do have a lot of bananas.
So Kim, I know you know the answer to this, but prior to reading the article, what would you have guessed?
Prior to it, I think I would go with bananas.
Okay. So I probably would have went with pregnancy tests.
Oh, that's funny.
That's
I was going back
funny.
and forth with grapes and bananas, and I'm like, which one is it?
It seems like it seems like every time I get a shop and pay order from like Walgreens or something, it's always a pregnancy test. There's always a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
That and like a Red Bull or something. So
I always find it actually amusing when you get those Walgreens orders and like it's like one's a pregnancy test, one is chocolate, and then like if they have like flowers might be involved if you go to a grocery store. And I'm like, oh, this person's covering it all right now.
So my question is, if you're showing up to shop an order and they're ordering a pregnancy test and flowers, are they gearing up to apologize or are they gearing up to celebrate?
Better yet, so how many times this has happened so often? How many times do you get like you have to go shopping for a pregnancy test and it's a hand it to me?
I don't think I've ever had one that I can remember.
Really?
I don't think so.
It's so awkward. Oh, sorry. Hope you get the outcome you're looking for. Like, what do you say? Good luck.
Yeah, right. Like, I hope your day doesn't suck after this. Like, yeah.
If not,
So
here are your chocolates to go with it.
my favorite was in my early days on YouTube. I had an order on, I think it was a DoorDash, and I think it was one or two items. It was just toilet paper. And I remember I was actually filming a ride along that day, and I was like going on and on about Operation Brown Bomb and how I was going to save the freaking day for this guy. So I was hoping that he would come out and get the item, but I wonder if I was like literally saving him because he was like stuck on the toilet and realized how dire the situation actually was. So we've got a lot of answers in here, many correct answers, and somebody cheated and Googled it, clearly.
Oh, cheater.
So let's go ahead and pull up this next slide here. So the correct answer is bananas. Over 1 billion bananas have been delivered on Instacart to date. And I'm assuming that means like bundles of bananas, right? Because I wouldn't know the individual banana count. So
Actually, it might, because when you do Instacart, it comes up like 5 bananas, 6 bananas, 7 bananas. So it actually might. Maybe.
Cheeky answered before they Googled. All right, that's fair. I guess that's not cheating then. So, all right, now for bonus points, we're not tallying this up, but for those of you who feel like it, let's see if anybody can, you only get one guess each. Let's see who can guess the state that orders the most amount of bananas. Leave that in the comments. Kim, I know you have the answer as well. Do you remember what it is?
I do.
Okay, well, that's not going to work. So I actually don't remember this.
You don't?
So I don't. So my assumption would have been that it would have been like Florida. I don't know why. Does Florida eat fruit?
Why wouldn't they?
All of the weird stuff happens in Florida, Kim. So
Actually, when I saw the state, I'm like, really? Like, it's a state. To me, you would never think ate the most bananas. When you think bananas, you think tropical, you think Hawaii, you think Florida, like
Yeah,
you
and that's
think,
kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
but
So
that's not.
let's. So we've got a few here. We've got New York, Florida, California, Arkansas, California again, California. Okay, a lot of Californias. New York.
No Googling.
Let's go ahead and put it up for them. So the number one state that orders bananas is
Dun, dun, dun. Iowa!
Iowa. So it goes Iowa, followed by South Dakota, Minnesota, Colorado, and then Pennsylvania. And interestingly, my state was one of the lowest on there, and I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah, so it's New Jersey, actually.
So, yeah.
It's funny. Hey, Steve, you're here from Colorado. Colorado's on the list. So all you Midwest people really like your bananas.
I guess so. You know what also freaked me out though is every time I go to the Midwest. So my dad lives there. He lives in some small like, town. I don't even know if you could small village, dwelling place. I don't know, whatever you call it. And every time I'm there, I'm always offered milk to drink over dinner. I'm like, what is the beer broken or something? Like what? It just, I don't know. It trips me out. It's like, depending on where you are in the country, you might get offered something very different.
Yeah, I went to when I had to go to Texas once for work. And this is back when obviously I had a W-2. They flew me to Texas. It was for a training. And I couldn't get anything other than iced tea. Every event that I went to, that it was iced tea or water. I'm like, where's your Dr. Pepper?
Yeah. So you'd think that, I mean, when I think Texas, I think not the healthiest place in the world. So I'm kind of surprised you'd have a hard time getting Dr. Pepper there.
Yeah, like every event I went to, it was tea and it was water. And I'm like, do you have even a Coke at this point? I'll take anything.
My question is, could you get a Dr. Pepper, right?
Yeah.
Could you get a Dr. Pepper delivered in Texas?
It was, I hate to say, I'm going to date myself, but it was before food delivery. So I don't know.
Oh. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you think you could get a Dr. Pepper delivered in Texas by a robot?
Ah, that was a good segue. Dun, dun, dun.
So these evil little bastards took our jobs. And shout out to you guys if you get that reference. So, Kim, why don't you go ahead and introduce this story? For those of you who are, again, listening rather than watching, these are some little robots that kind of look like a baby stroller with eyeballs. They're trying to make them look cute, but they look fucking creepy in my opinion. Excuse my
They look
French.
like water coolers. They look like igloo water coolers with wheels.
They kind of do. Like it looks like something you would see on like a Pixar movie, except they took her jibs.
It's like they took Wally's eyes and put them in the front of these coolers.
So if the tone hasn't been set already, I am obviously not very fond of this, but Kim, why don't you go ahead and introduce this story? Sorry, go for it.
So Uber Eats is now using robots for food delivery in parts of Fairfax. So I don't know whether anybody is here from Fairfax. So they now partnered with this town because they wanted to move forward with innovative technology, quote unquote. And they started doing delivery. Now, when I chose this article, I went on to TikTok, and there are people getting deliveries through these robots. And I've seen people like opening them up, and like, this is my thing with them. You actually they don't come to your door like a regular delivery person. You have to go out to the robot to lift up the robot to go grab your order. And then when I was looking on TikTok,
So what Kim is saying is that, sorry, your mic is messed up. What Kim is saying is that these will not come to your door in most cases. You actually have to go outside to meet this robot and hope it doesn't like run over your feet. I think you're good now, Kim.
Am I good now?
I think you're good.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, people literally have to go out pick up their order. I get there's like a scanning mechanism that you like scan your phone in order to open them. I don't know. To me, the whole thing is just a little too strange for me. Not personalized at all.
Yeah, so this is happening so this was piloted in Miami, and now they're testing it in Fairfax. So these evil little bastards are being made by a company called Cartkin. That's Cartkin. And this company was actually created by some former Google employees. They have approximately 40. This is in a specific district of Fairfax. There are approximately 40 areas in the restaurant, only a few of which have signed up to have ET deliver food. So the company claims that they want to bring cutting edge technology, and they're trying to make for a positive customer experience, and yada yada yada. And I don't think they're going to succeed with that at all. Kim, what do you think the likelihood is that one of these will do something heinous, like go through an active crime scene?
I think it's a very good possibility because it's already happened.
It's already happened. What?
I know.
Oh,
Okay.
I so wish that there was video of that.
Oh, but wait, we do.
There's video?
We do. Are you ready? Are you guys holding to your seats for excitement right now? Okay.
Let's do it. Here, take a step.
There's someone looking at it remotely.
What if there's a bomb?
Yeah. I was thinking, you know, we're all thinking.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So I think the most amazing part of that is that the cops were just kind of like, okay. I watched the news story behind this, and they were actually investigating an active shooter. And then this thing just goes driving right through it. And I don't know if you guys could hear this or not, but there was some guy in the video that said, what if it's a bomb? And, that's kind of a valid point, right? Like, obviously the kinks are not worked out of these things yet. So I'm not saying we should ever do anything passive aggressive towards these, but you can find videos on the internet of people flipping them over. I'm sure dogs are going to take a piss on them, right? Like, it's bound to happen. Some of them claim to be able to operate in all weather. Some of them claim to be able to climb stairs, while others are more limited. But
can we play the next one? Because I laughed hysterically at this next clip.
Yeah, so nothing makes me happier than seeing something that's trying to take my job blow up in a violent and dramatic manner.
Okay, we ready?
So, can we play it again for no reason? Kaboom! Look at that lithium fire. I'm sorry, that just makes me too happy. And, because ultimately these companies are trying to roll out robotics, and be it in the form of drones or the Satan bot here, because they never say no to no tip orders, right? They have 100% completion. Well, obviously not completion rate. They have 100% acceptance rate. And they're trying to use these to get the orders delivered that we just don't get paid enough to do. So I'm not a fan. I don't think that we're going to see these rolled out widely because they just have too many problems. I'm sorry, if Google can't get their autonomous car running without 2 engineers in it, I don't think we're going to see food robots delivering your Chipotle anytime soon.
Yeah.
Guys, let us know in the comments. Actually, matter of fact, we have another slide. Let's pull that up here. So in the chat or in the replay, if that's where you're catching us, are you worried about robots replacing drivers? Your options are yes, I'm worried. No, I'm not worried. A little worried, very worried, or thanks, Elon. Let us know. So no tip robot trip. Kim, are you worried about robots taking our jobs?
No, not at all.
No.
I think it is so far in the future. I think this is honestly too premature. They don't have anything worked out. So I have no, it's not going to affect us anytime soon.
Yeah. So I'm kind of with you on that. I think that we'll have our jobs. We'll be fine. These are just going to keep running into problems. This is the same company that is teamed up with Grubhub to deliver orders on college campuses, and they have had a lot of problems with those, including but not limited to asshole college kids flipping them over. So I think that if anything, it would be kind of like that one-off kind of novelty thing. It's like Emirates, the airline, right? You can fly Emirates if you want to spend $25,000 for a ticket. You can get a bed in your airplane and take a shower on your flight, but it's going to cost you 25 grand, right? And I think that novelty is going to wear off really quick. So I order food because I'm busy with something else, and I want the convenience of just opening my door, there it is, and being like, "Okay, thanks, bye." So this takes part of the convenience out of it. So John says, "No, at least not until they start carrying Walmart water cases." So my
It'd be
experience
interesting though. I don't think I know this. Steve actually might know this. Like how much weight can they hold up to? I feel like I talked about this before. I just can't remember what the answer to that is. I just can't remember. It'd be interesting though if anybody knows how much weight that they can actually hold.
Thomas's comment, Dara was driving the train. So,
you never know.
Yeah. So we've got another kind of bummer story for you guys, unfortunately. So a DoorDash driver made almost 1,000 deliveries while awaiting sentencing for a deadly hit and run. So this happened. Oh, sorry. I had my notes here and then they were gone. This happened in Philadelphia. So a 29-year-old woman, unfortunately, was struck and killed by a DoorDash driver. And the driver fled the scene, and he ultimately was found and arrested. He pleaded guilty, and while he was waiting for sentencing, he made 977 deliveries. So there's a lawsuit, and the victim's family is alleging that these various companies are not vetting their drivers properly. Kim, what do you think?
I think it's very valid. First of all, for someone to make over close to 1,000 deliveries prior to sentencing, not just for any crime, but for a crime involving a vehicle which you use for delivering, I have a pretty
and somebody dying.
And someone dying, like that's like I just don't understand how something like that happens or slips through the cracks. And I would have to agree with this family. I mean, it's not going to bring their poor daughter back, but if it prevents it from happening to somebody else, power to the family trying to push this forward, because I don't know. I don't see a lot. Like how many, I think we were talking about this yesterday. I think there was a news article like over a year ago and you guys might know this better than I would, but I think it was somebody who was taking food and eating it before giving it to the customer. They found out that he was pending charges for assault and something else, like, and he was still delivering like it was nothing. So where's the safety? And and I think I saw this in the chat before, so forgive me if I can't remember who said it. There's safety for drivers and vetting them, and should there now be safety for vetting customers with things that are happening to drivers on both ends? So it's just a question that's out there right now with safety and also vetting drivers.
Yeah. So okay, I kind of have some mixed feelings here. So I want to highlight Ruby Q Public's most recent comment, 9:05 p.m. for you. Yeah, thank you. So is the crime even in the system until after the sentencing? That is a good question, and one that I do not have the answer for. I believe that they can see pending charges. I remember when I worked at a specific W-2 job, they brought somebody in and told them, hey, if you were convicted of this, like we found this on your record, if you were convicted, we are going to have to let you go. So I would assume that, now, I mean, this was, 10 years ago, but I would assume that they can see it. But, again, it's just an assumption. Now, this starts to kind of get into some gray area, in my opinion, because in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. However, where I start to take issue is, again, like you said, right? We're behind the wheel, and this person was the perpetrator of a hit and run that caused a fatality. That's a big deal. Like, I mean, I don't think this should have been, I don't think this should have slid.
No.
So I will say this, I've heard of things close to home that have gotten through background checks that shouldn't have for drivers. And I have heard from so many people that something prevented them from passing a background check that shouldn't have. And actually, matter of fact, I got deactivated from an app temporarily because of an issue with a background check. And ultimately, I was able to get it resolved. But they allowed me to go for months, like 3 or 4 months, before they ultimately emailed me and said, hey, you're deactivated. You need to contact Checker. So, it was this whole runaround, and I ended up getting it fixed. Well, long story short, they just needed like the last four of my social or something silly. And, it was fine. But my question was, if there was an issue, why did I get passed initially?
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder how many other drivers are getting through that shouldn't.
Yeah, it's so true. How many is true? If it's happening here, I think that's the whole entire point of why this family is suing these delivery companies, because they truly don't want it to happen to somebody else. Like, even if they're not convicted and it's innocent until proven guilty, like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the next safety measures? Obviously, does DoorDash even know that this? Next question: did DoorDash even know prior to this happening?
Your mic.
That they even knew about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. So, and I'm sure that this also has something to do with the frequency of our background checks, right? Like if you pass a background check, right, and then you're convicted of a crime 2 weeks later, right? Or, you get, a ticket or whatever the case may be, right? They very well may not catch that for another year. They got to do another background check to catch it. So that poses another interesting question. What should the duration be between background checks for drivers? So, that could be rhetorical. I want you guys to think about that. But in the meantime, we'd like to give you an update on a story. Ooh, excuse me, on a story that we covered last week. So last week we showed you we talked to you about a story where a DoorDash driver confronted a customer who claimed that they never got the order when, they in fact did. And then the driver got her on camera saying, yes, I got it. Kim, I'm going to want to come back to this slide in just a minute, but we have a video to play. So if we can go ahead and just play that. We'll let the driver give you guys the update.
Point, I got thousands of you guys waiting to hear what happened to the DoorDash lady, what happened to me. Do I still get my job? Or do I still got my job? And I'm going to just go ahead and get right into all that. Also, I just want to say thank you so much to anybody that started following me or found my music or is just interested in my day-to-day life. Like, that genuinely means a lot. So I appreciate that. I just want to say I'm grateful for real. So, yeah, long story short, where that video ended, it cut off like 30 seconds before I actually left the building. But, I just wanted to get her confessing on camera, hey, I got the food, which she did. And after that, the video cut off, and I basically just told her, hey, look, I guess we're not going to get this solved right here, right this second. I said, but you got until the end of the day to get this contract violation figured out. I said, or if I wake up in the morning and it's still there, when I come back tomorrow, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a fun time. And I said, I understand. And she said, I understand. And that was it. So I walked out. Anyways, days go by, or not days, the day goes by. I wake up in the morning, and that video is probably at 8 million. I go to check my DoorDash app. Definitely don't have a contract violation on there anymore. So she definitely took care of it. But, man, y'all was eating her up in that comment section. For real, it almost made me feel bad for her at some point. But I just know that's going to be an awkward little work environment from here on out, because I know for a fact some of her coworkers was in them comment threads. I'm not even going to get into all that, but God. So moral of the story, don't try to get free DoorDash food because your face might just be seen by tens of millions of people just for $20 worth of food. We got to be better than that, folks. On that note, though, it's all love across the board, because this is probably one of the craziest things that have actually happened to me, for real. So I just want to say thank you so much, everybody. Hope y'all having a good night. Love.
Okay, so you know what? And this is part of the reason, Kim. This is one of the many reasons that I don't use TikTok. Those YouTube production quality, TikTok not. So anyway, this gentleman was ultimately deactivated after 30 million people saw the video. Now, the silver lining here is that the customer's account was also deactivated. But it's a crying shame that it took 30 million views for a dishonest customer to get deactivated.
It's crazy.
So, yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, the guy was very respectful when he confronted her initially. But he was definitely firm in saying, you were going to fix this. Folks, please don't ever confront your customers. Don't do that. That's a way to almost guarantee that you're going to get deactivated. DoorDash knows if a customer calls and claims that they didn't get the order, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I got it." That's gonna cast some suspicion on you. So, anyway, so can we go back to that one slide real quick?
Oops, wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So the guy on the right, there's for those of you listening, there's a guy looking super confused, goofy pose, and I don't know why they chose to put that there. I guess somebody did a remix or something of his TikTok, and it says POV, you just lost your job, but you also gained 40,000 followers in 3 days from the situation, and then a skull face. So as content creators, Kim, I think we can kind of weigh in on that. Those millions of views probably only equated to maybe 30 or $40 for this guy. TikTok does not.
That was if he was monetized through TikTok before this. I don't know that answer. Because it seems like he blew up literally within hours and overnight.
So
I just
Guarantee, though, that viral video did not come close, even if he is monetized, to covering what he would have made in like a 3 or 4 hour dash.
no,
Guaranteed. TikTok doesn't pay anything.
no.
So,
I just, I think DoorDash, with it reaching many millions of people, I think they only had I think they were just trying to set an example. And according to the article that this was in, and they said, end quote, that they don't tolerate harassment of any sort, and this was a form of harassment. So any dasher who has any form of harassment, it falls within their deactivation policy. So
yeah. So there are two gentlemen in Florida who are claiming that they were being harassed by an Instacart shopper. So these, there was an Instacart driver and then somebody else in his car. They turned into the wrong driveway. It was a long driveway somewhere in Florida, and the homeowners came out. The homeowner and his son came out and started shooting at these drivers. Again, another story of it could have happened to any one of us. Kim, have you ever pulled into the wrong driveway?
yes. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a good experience. I was actually a little afraid, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't
What
even
happened?
So it was a Grubhub order, and
Oh, I
I
remember this.
and I got to the correct address that was on the actual Grubhub order. And it was dark out. It was during the winter time. So it was probably like 7 o'clock at night, I think. It was somewhere around there. So I go to do the delivery, pitch black. First of all, it was a long driveway. Go up, pitch black. And I'm like, honestly, I'm cursing out in my mind. I'm cursing out these people for not leaving the lights on with this long driveway. So I go to put it on the chair because there's a chair on their porch, and a guy opens the door, and I'm thinking, oh, he's coming to grab his order. And he goes, "Who are you and what are you doing on my property?"
Hmm.
And I'm like, "I'm a Grubhub driver, and you ordered food?" And he's like, "I didn't order food. You have the wrong address." And I looked at my phone, and I actually showed him my phone, thinking if he saw I wasn't actually it might like calm him down a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's my address, but that's not me. So I suggest you leave my property now." And I'm like, "Okay, bye. Have a good
Jeez.
night." And I took the food and like literally ran to my car and hightailed it like off of his property, because it was probably one of the most scariest incidents that I've had. So I've never been shot at, but I can
Mhm.
relate to going to the wrong. Well, actually, I had the correct address. It's just the person inputted it wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So the homeowners claim that they were driving erratically on their property, running over logs, hitting rocks and shit. And so in their minds, that warranted firing at these drivers. So again, it's just one of those things that could have happened to any one of us, and the driver was actually on the phone with their Instacart customer trying to find the correct address. So this tells me that this was either at night or in some rural area and they were having a hard time finding them. So, it's one of those things that we really just can't prevent, right? We pull into the wrong driveway, right? Somebody might get suspicious and think we're a threat to them.
Yeah,
So,
it was interesting to me because no charges were made on either party because they
mhm,
said both sides were justified, even though I felt like there was a disconnect, like completely two different stories
yeah.
happening at the time of whatever was happening. So I always say there's A and B, and somewhere in the middle is C. So I don't know, but then no one was charged, and everybody was okay. They didn't actually get shot. They just got shot at.
So nobody ended up in the ER basically.
No, they shot at their tires if I remember correctly.
So I'm glad that was okay. So speaking of ending up in the ER, this driver, we've got some screenshots with support here. So DoorDash asks driver's wife to complete order after he is rushed to the emergency room. A woman has, go ahead and get this part, Kim, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I want to pull
absolutely.
up the next.
A woman has shared how she was asked to complete her husband's DoorDash order despite being with him in the emergency room. So this is what happened. This DoorDash driver got into a car accident in the middle of the delivery, and he had the food in the car with him. He gets rushed to the ER. He calls his wife saying, "Car's totaled. I'm on my way to the ER. I'm fine. They're just going to check me out in the ER." Woman rushes to the ER because her husband is there and wants to make sure he's okay. When she gets there, he's freaking out because he realized that he still has this customer's order in his now totaled car, and he didn't deliver it. So he teaches his wife how to chat with support, and support said, "I'm so, their
We have
regular
we have a
response."
screenshot of the conversation
Yeah.
actually.
Hold on.
So this is kind of small. Do you need me to read this one?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So she says, "I'm his wife. He got into a car wreck and he's in the emergency room. The customer knows. I didn't know how to cancel the order." DoorDash says, "Too bad to know about the situation. Will you be able to complete this order?" So the wife obviously says no and then proceeds from there. But she thought it was absolutely ridiculous that her husband was in the emergency room and their response was, "Can you complete the order?"
Yeah, that was pretty cold. So, I mean, talk about a copy and paste response there. So, yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that they asked to have the wife do it. First of all, first and foremost, like I have only had something go sideways during a delivery once. Out of thousands and thousands and thousands of deliveries, only once has something ever gone sideways with an order in the car. I had a tire blow up in a violent, dramatic manner when I was driving down a highway. And so I was able to pull off, and I called the customer and gave them an update, said, "Hey, I'm going to be able to show up, but I'm going to be like 20-30 minutes late because I got a flat and, I'm not driving on my rim for this order. Sorry." So this was actually a grocery order worth, I don't know, it was like 150 bucks, something like that. And it was paying me somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 bucks. So, long story short, I call support as well. And their initial reaction is, "Oh, okay, we'll cancel the order. You'll get full pay and you keep the items." And I'm thinking, like, that's like 100 bucks worth of groceries. Seriously? So I told support, no, don't cancel the order. And so I ended up getting the tire changed and was able to complete the delivery. I was like 30 minutes late, but the customer came out and gave me 20 bucks in cash on top of an already generous tip. So it worked out well. But the thing that did piss me off about the whole situation, Kim, was I got a 4-star rating out of it instead of a 5.
Really?
I got a 4-star.
Uh,
Like, come on now. Like, dude, I could have literally gotten paid to keep your food, went home and drank all your soda the rest of the night. But I didn't do that, right? I got the job done for you, brother. I got it done. And then you get
But
a
he-
4-star me?
Man, people have like a really messed up star system. But I just want to answer Thomas's question. Did they fire the support agent? According to the article, and they asked DoorDash to respond to this, they said it falls below their high standards that we set for ourselves. I'm like, no kidding.
Have they read their transcripts? I'm curious. Have they read their own transcripts?
I don't know, but to me, this is just unacceptable on any like. There's just like no humanity when you see stuff like this. Like no human connection, no humanity. Like you can tell that someone is literally typing some kind of script or something that's robotic and not concerned that this poor DoorDash driver just got hit and his car got totaled.
Yeah. Yeah, complete lack of empathy there from the support agent. So, admittedly, this was probably just a copy and paste response, but yeah, it showed the lack of human connection for sure. Kim, I want to move on to some of our funnies. We've got a few funnies to kind of wind this down. It's been a little bit of a heavier show tonight. So our first funny is a driver who shows what $900 worth of groceries look like stuffed into a Nissan Altima. So this is a very quick video we're going to show, and you want to pull that comment down real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then yeah, and then we're going to briefly talk about this
DoorDash
quick
and
video.
you have to pull a $900 order in your Nissan Altima.
So, all right. So her backseat is full of all kinds of stuff. I don't even know what a lot of that is. Looks like she might have some soda and some pancake mix and stuff. But her backseat is just piled like that. That is what I imagine Santa's sleigh looks like on Christmas Eve. And she got paid $86 to deliver that. So, I mean, depending on how long it took her to shop the order, that's a pretty good payout, I'd say, right?
Yeah, I mean, according to her, she wasn't gonna let that money go away just because it was $900, and she was gonna make that fit into her Altima. So,
See,
hats off to her for going after it and getting it done.
yeah. So and this, I think that this lady is like the true, the unsung hero among drivers. Really, we always hear the stories of that one-off driver doing something bad, but I mean, there's a prime example of somebody who's like, I am going to get the job done no matter what. So if anybody knows who that is, tell her props to her, and we appreciate her. She's clearly doing a good job, and she's representing all drivers in a very professional manner. So, Kim, we've got one more here, and then I think we're going to answer a couple of questions. Or we've got two more, actually. Sorry. We're going to do a couple questions after that, and I think we're going to wrap up here in the next 5-10 minutes. So, the difference in delivery addresses. So, for those of you who are listening, there are two pictures on the screen. We have one that is a door. It's a standard looking apartment door. It's got the the handle, and then there's a deadbolt on top of that. And about 2 inches above the deadbolt is the tiniest little, like the size of a dime, apartment number. Like it is like seriously the size of a dime.
It's
Good
like
luck
where's
seeing.
Waldo in apartment numbers.
Seriously. And then the picture on the right of that is a house with about probably a good fourth of the side of the house covered with the address. So
I said when I said this to you, I think I said find the number and let me know when you find it. And I said this next picture, this house is my hero.
yeah.
I wish all houses looked like this because it looks like the yellow will glow in the dark.
It does. Yeah. No, you're going to see that any time of day or night, right? You're going to, and the only thing that would make this better is if that was also on the other side of the house. So, we've got customers who make it easy for us, customers who make it hard for us. Drivers, I'm sorry, but if you can't find that house, consider a different line of work, because boom, right in your face on that one. So I love this homeowner. I want to go up and, shake their hand and say thank you for making our lives easier. So hopefully they order a lot of DoorDash and tip well.
It's funny because there was a house I delivered to last summer, and the house number, it wasn't in yellow, but the house numbers were legitimately like that big, but it was in black, and they were going down the front of her house. And I went up to her and I said, "You're my hero. I love your house numbers." And it was a hand it to me customer, and she goes, "Really? My neighbors hate it and think that we're flashy and want us to take it down." And I said, "Well, from a delivery driver, you're awesome."
Yeah.
And she just laughed.
That's
She goes,
awesome.
"I'll tell my neighbors that when their food goes missing."
There you go. So our final one comes from a Walmart Spark delivery. And Kim, I'll let you cover this one as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Let me get my glasses on for half a second because I wasn't prepared.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. This is where my blindness comes in. Okay, so is there where you want me to leave them? This question mark. And the person says the front door is a bit of a jog from the driveway, and we've had a problem with wasp on the walkway. So you're saying I have to walk to your porch, but I can't walk to your porch because there's wasps that could possibly sting me.
So these are the kind of delivery instructions. It's like, why even bother? Because it tells me nothing, and it just frustrates me and gives me anxiety. You suck.
I just don't understand what their expectation is by actually
I don't
putting
even know where I'm
something.
supposed to leave this order. Like reading that, do you want it left in front of the like freaking garage? Like where do you want this to go? Do you want it to your front door? Do you want me to get like stung by a bunch of wasps, go into like anaphylactic shock and shit, or like where is this supposed to go?
I don't know, but we had here our first like really warm summer day. I think it was like 2 weekends ago, and I
Nice.
feel like every bee was like coming out because it was like the first gorgeous 80-degree day here.
Hmm.
And I went to this one house, and it was swarming with those big, huge, like carpenter bees, like the big bumblebees, and like swarming everywhere, like on their porch. And it was like, leave on my porch, knock. And I'm like, I'll leave it on your step because I am not getting stung.
Yeah, hard pass. So this is a perfect time if you guys have any questions to get those into us. Kim, have you ever? So speaking of questionable delivery instructions, with the exception of the one that you just talked about with the bees, have you ever had delivery instructions that you just read them and you were like, nah, like that ain't gonna happen?
Um, Not that I'm trying to think. There is one lady, but I've delivered to her several times, so I know her at this point. But like you can tell she's been burned so many times because the notes come in like literally this long, like with very specific instructions and where she's at and don't deliver. And if you don't deliver, you'll get a bad rating. One of those people. But whenever I see her, I'm probably one of the crazy people that actually take her because she tips really well because of her instructions. um, but as far as crazy, actually, there was one time I almost canceled because they wanted me to deliver in the back of their house on a garbage can.
I've had
And
that.
I thought that was weird. I'm like, oh, do I care? This is just weird. Going first of all, I get weird about going to the back of people's houses, especially at nighttime to begin with, and
Hmm.
then to put it on a garbage can. I don't know. I'm like, okay, that's just weird. But I ended up doing it and felt even weirder putting it on a garbage can. But,
I think my sketchiest, well, I shouldn't say my sketchiest, but the one that made me the most uncomfortable was deliver to jail.
oh,
So yeah, I've gotten that a couple of times. So it was obviously going to a sheriff or something like that. And, but it's like get buzzed into the jail. And I'm like, no, I don't think I purposely want to go to jail today. So I made that mistake once as a new driver, got it done. And then I learned quickly that you should always check the delivery instructions and address first because I have since unassigned like 2 more of those orders because I am not trying to. And to make matters worse, right? Like it didn't even tip well enough, right? For the trauma of having to get buzzed into a jail. I think I got paid like $5.
oh,
And this
that's
was
crazy.
from yeah, okay, I'm trying to think. This came from Five Guys, right? So I don't expect you guys to know this, but I'm like trying to think of how this played out. And so it was like in the north-ish part of my city, not like north, it doesn't matter. So this probably took me a good, because Five Guys is never ready, right? Like you got to wait for them to do the fries. I was probably into that order about 30 minutes for like $5 and then had to go to jail on top of it. No, no, no.
I've never been to jail. I've done schools. I've done, theaters. I've never done a jail before.
Never done a theater. Unfortunately, many, many, many schools, university, which sucks. I refuse to go.
Yeah, I won't go to our local university
Trucker
either.
in the middle of the road, like, parked. Truck stops. Oh boy. Court. All kinds of crazy places.
Yeah.
All
We
right.
got a
So,
question.
all right. Okay, so the question reads: Are either of you concerned on over what's going on in Washington right meow? And I love the way that that's worded, by the way. Yes, I am. So
I No, I definitely am. If you
we
guys haven't watched, there were committee meetings last week. So if you haven't watched them, definitely I suggest, even if you listen to them as you're driving, because that's what I did to really understand what was happening. I think we should all have a level of concern, because just it's not a matter, like, it's already passed. It's just a matter of what form of it
how
will
it's going to be
come,
implemented.
yeah, to each one of our states.
So okay, we kind of did a really high level overview there. So for those of you who are unaware, a rule change proposal was adopted by the U.S. Department of Labor that basically would make it so we could very potentially be classified as W-2 employees instead of 1099 workers. So this did pass. It did something very similar to AB5, where there's like a litmus test almost to determine if you're a true independent contractor or if you are an employee, basically. And it doesn't look good for gig workers. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about it. But the way I understand this is it's up to the IRS and the individual states how this rolls out. So I don't know that it's imminent for all of us to become W-2s, but I think that, yeah, I'm worried. I'm very worried about it.
Yeah, it's just, I think it really is going to be up to your own individual states, and we will try to keep you as updated as we possibly can. It just might get a little crazy, but it's just not a bad. It's past. It's just a matter of when it will become, what type or what form it will come, to your own individual state. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open, because it really does affect all of us.
We're going to be having a guest on in the next couple of weeks who is extremely knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. And I hope that wasn't a secret.
Yeah,
'Cause I
not
totally
a secret.
just
He's
spilled
here
the
tonight,
beans.
so it's all good.
So we're going to have Steve from RideShare Rodeo on. He is one of the most knowledgeable people out there about anything that is happening within the gig economy, be it DoorDash, Instacart, Grubhub, Uber, whatever, Lyft. If something is happening, he knows about it. So we're going to be having a very detailed discussion with Steve about that. And that is an episode you guys are not going to want to miss. Steve, on top of all of that, Steve puts on great shows. And so both Kim and I are friends of Steve's. And I think that is going to just be a great show with great energy. And we hope you guys can make it for that. So I think that this is probably a good place to wrap up. Kim, what do you think?
I think it is. Thank you, everybody, for being with us on Wednesday evenings. I always have so much fun doing this and
Me too.
chatting with Zach and all you guys in the chat. I think we cover tons of information jam-packed in the time that we have with everybody.
So, and always, if you guys see something that's happening in your markets that's one-off, strange, weird, crazy, Kim at therideshareguy.com or Zach at therideshareguy.com, and that's Zach with an H. We would love to hear from you. Thank
Even
you
news
all.
articles.
Oh yeah, just anything that you guys would like to see covered, send it our way. No promises that we'll cover it, but send it our way anyway. You never know. I mean, a lot of the videos that I make come from viewer suggestions. So, you never know. But thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. We are so grateful to have you here with us on our 1 month anniversary of Money Hungry, or our 4th episode, I should say. So thank you. We will see you guys again next week. Same place, same time. RideShare Guy channel, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. There we go. See you guys next week.